Income Tax 2020 Practice Problem 1 Presentation 30. We got the Schedule C business. We're going to be entering the information from the documentation from the income statement for the Schedule C into the tax return, and we're going to be recording any open items or questions that we have as we do so. Come in, relax with Income Tax 2020. Here we are in our Lacerte tax software. You don't need the Lacerte tax software to follow along, although I do think they have a 30-day free trial. So if you can get access to a promo or demo version of it or any other tax software, it could be a good practice tool to practice with. We're going to be continuing on our comprehensive practice problem number 1. In prior presentations, we entered the income information in the first section. Then we took a look at the above-the-line deductions to get to the adjusted gross income, then entered the itemized deductions. And now we're going to be taking a look at the Schedule C, continuing on with the Schedule C, which will have an impact to some of these areas, including income and the adjustments to income. So I'm going to open up our item here so I can see the Schedule C. So I'm going to go down to the Schedule C, and we started to get this information from the client. So we're imagining we're getting the information from the client or from our software. We got it from QuickBooks, which we downloaded into our Excel worksheet. You might not get it from QuickBooks, but you'll have some type of income statement. Then we marked off the accounts that we think may have adjustments to them. And instead of stopping there, we're going to push forward from that point and start to enter it into the tax return at this time. And then we're going to go back and make those adjustments. So oftentimes I'll want to put it into the tax return to get to the bottom line of that. And then when I make the adjustments, I want to make them one at a time so that I can see exactly what those adjustments are, one at a time, one change at a time. So we're going to enter this into basically the tax return. Now, if this was a continuing client, then of course you'd have all the beginning information from the prior tax return, including the accounting method that they're going to be using and the type of business and the industry and all that kind of stuff would roll forward. If it was a new business, then of course you'd have to enter all that beginning information. So I'm going to go back on over. We're going to go to our detail. I'm going to go into the income. We're going to take a look at the good old Schedule C. So we're going to say it's a consulting business. We're going to say it's a general consulting business here. The business name, we're going to keep the same as the 1040. And the address, we're going to say is the same as the 1040. Accounting method, we're going to use a cash method for the accounting. And we're not going to have any inventory. Now we're going to be applying it to the spouse. Now this is going to be an important point if we have a joint return, married filing joint. Is it for the taxpayer or the spouse, or is it going to be joint return? Which basically means if it's a joint return, it's kind of like you would think you might have to do then a partnership return, a 1065, and then use the K1s because it's kind of like a partnership, but there's basically an exception in some cases when you're talking about a married couple, because obviously they're kind of one taxable entity. So you want to make sure you pick the right area here so that the Social Security, one of the big things you want to look at is the Social Security that's going to be paid in, which is going to be the self-employment tax, is applied correctly to the taxpayer or spouse or both as is appropriate. So that's what we're going to continue on. And then I'm just going to go down here and just enter this data directly in. So I'm going to say, all right, we've got the 70,000 consulting income. Note that I'm putting the consulting income down here in the wrong area in the inventory instead of up here where it should go. And we'll be able to reconcile that when we double check it to the tax return. So you can put it in, if you're following along, obviously it should be an income, but you could follow along and put it down here if you have tax software and you're doing that. And then we'll fix it when we do the reconciliation and look at the bottom line to the net income. Income 70,000. And you could mark these off, like highlight them as you go and say that found that one, make it green. Advertising, so advertising is going to be for the 2600 for advertising. Going to make that green because we totally found it. Now this one is one that we're going to use the mileage method, we think. But for now, I'm just going to enter it in as is. And then I'll go back, and when they answer my question about it, we'll go back into it. So I'm just going to put the whatever they gave me right now in there. So 2100. I think that's going to change because I think we should use the mileage method, but I'm going to double check with the client on that one. So let's highlight this one. We'll make it green. Then we got the bank charges. So the bank service charges at then the 195. So there we have that. And then we've got the computer and internet. So I'll put that down here. Let's put it down here. I'll just put it in the other. I'm not sure there's a category for that. I'm just going to put it in the other. Computer and internet. We'll just copy that on over. That's the 360. So we'll put that here. Say 360. Okay. And I'll greenify that one. Greenify. And then we've got the dues and subscriptions. I think we've got that one up here somewhere. Dues and, yeah, there's the category for that one. 97. I knew there was a category. I've seen that one before. And we'll greenify that one. And then we got the general liability insurance. So liability insurance, 790. So insurance other than health insurance. So 790. 790. Got that one. Meals and entertainment. Now, when I put this one in there, I bet the software will take like 50% of it. That's why I yellowified it. So I'm gonna go over here and say meals. If I go down to the meals, or up to the meals, where are the meals? There they are. So I'm gonna assume, you know, they're gonna take the 50% right there. So I'm gonna say 590, and that's gonna mess me up because it's gonna take 50% of that. So I might, you know, you might want to note that, like, sometimes I'll actually put another adjustment down here because I want to tie into the bottom line. If I have a long return, then I want to tie into the bottom line first and then go back. So I might put then the adjustment here. I might say meals here and note that I'm going to adjust it later at the 590 because I don't want the system to make this adjustment for me until I tie into the bottom line first, because if they make a lot of adjustments, then it's going to be hard for me to go back and reconcile. I want to get to that number, in essence, first, and then make the adjustment. So I'm going to mark it as yellow, and I'm going to put it into other right now so the system doesn't try to help me, quote, help me, and then I'll go back and fix it later. So then supplies. So supplies, I'm going to go then to the supplies right there, and then 1400. A lot of times when people are helping or the computer's helping you, it's awfully unhelpful. Awfully unhelpful. But whatever. So then we're going to go to the repairs and maintenance. Now these three I'm thinking might be on the business office. That's why we yellowified them. But we're going to ask the client about it. So we'll put it into the system first. And then we'll go back in there. So we'll go to, say, repairs. I think I'm going to have to adjust this and put it somewhere else. But I'm going to put the whole thing here for now. 2633. And then we'll go and make our adjustments when we need to. And then the telephone. Same thing, telephone. Telephone is going to be for the 900, so I'll put the 900. And then we have the utilities. Utilities. And that's at the 444, 444. And so we've greenified all of them. So that looks good. So we should be coming down to our 57891. 57891. So we're going to go back on over, and if I scroll down, we've got the net income is not the 57891. So if that's the case, then we're going to go in and basically double check these all again here. So if I go back in, it should be this number. So let's double check them. And it looks like I put the income into the wrong line. That'll cause a problem. So this is in the cost of goods sold. It should be up here in the sales line item. So let's put the 70,000 up where it belongs. And then I'm going to go back in and check it again. So now that's good. And now we're at the 57,891. And does that tie out 57,891? So that looks good. So that looks good for our starting point here. Now, if I go back on over to my worksheet, then I might go and ask questions. So I'm going to ask questions about these items. I already know about the meals, so I can make that adjustment as well. And then think about how we're going to basically make our adjusting entry. So we have a significant amount of adjustments because now I'm thinking we're probably going to do the mileage method here. Meals are going to have a 50% adjustment, and these might be going to a home office, or there might be some kind of breakout between the telephone. So if that's the case, those might be more adjustments than you want to just stack at the bottom, like just write in pencil. If you have a piece of paper and the income statement on it, you might want a formal worksheet, the more adjustments that you have. I would think if you have a home office and in addition to the auto, then that might be worthwhile for you to make a worksheet kind of like this. So next time we'll adjust our worksheet here to do a formal kind of worksheet to do our adjusting entries so that they're easy to see not only when we make them, but when we explain them possibly to the client and or in the event of an audit that happens like 3 years later if I go back to our working papers and try to figure out what we did.